Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to another YouTube video. I am now 31 weeks pregnant. This pregnancy has been flying by so fast. In today's video, I'm going to showcase my primary deadlift day and my primary squat day. As my belly has gotten bigger and bigger, especially since starting the third trimester a few weeks ago, I have had to change my positioning, so I'm going to get into all of those details and more. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. So without wasting any time, I'm just going to hop right into my primary deadlift day. So as you can see, I am doing these deadlifts elevated off the ground. I have 3 mats underneath each side of the barbell, which is the equivalent of putting a bumper plate, a 45-pound bumper plate underneath each side. The reason for this is, as you can probably imagine, when you go through pregnancy, get into the third trimester, your belly starts getting bigger and bigger, and eventually reaching the ground becomes uncomfortable. So it's not going to be a good idea to even try to reach the ground. Instead, it's a good idea to either widen your stance or elevate the bar off the ground, which I'll do both of those in these deadlifts. So you see me here, I did 6 reps at 245 pounds in the first clip, and then followed by this is 5 reps at 265 pounds, and then lastly 4 reps at 285 pounds. So all of these sets were super easy at maximum RP5, but I honestly think they were even lighter than that. I'm just trying to go on the air on the side of precaution, as with every single lift. And then moving on. So after I did my 3 sets of elevated deadlifts, I moved into sumo deadlifts, and I also did this pyramid style. I really like the pyramid style because, especially for deadlifts, because my strength is the highest on deadlifts, it could be easy to lift too much and do count my warm-ups. Traditionally, these would be warm-up sets and not working sets, but because I'm pregnant, I'm deciding to count these as working sets, if that makes sense. So I started with 6 reps at 205 pounds on sumo deadlifts, and then I did 6 reps at 215. And then in the last clip, you'll see me doing 6 reps at 225 pounds. And I started practicing sumo deadlifts at, I want to say, 20 weeks pregnant, and they were elevated as back-offs to regular conventional deadlifts off the ground. And then starting at 24 weeks pregnant, I want to say, I started pulling off the ground. So I've only been pulling off the ground for deadlifts for 1.5-ish training blocks, and I have never pulled sumo deadlifts in any other phase of my training. But honestly, they're feeling really good, and the pelvic floor connection is really easy to engage, which is a very important part of training during pregnancy. You're trying to exhale on the hard part of the movement and then inhale on the easy part of the movement, so you're able to get kind of a contraction at the top of the deadlift, and then you're relaxing as you're bringing it back down to the ground. And then this is another one of my favorite exercises. So I had 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps of kettlebell offset goblet squats. That was a mouthful. But anyways, my first and my third set were sets of 10 with 16 kilos. So very light, but this is a deceptively challenging exercise. Same thing as I mentioned as the focus on sumo deadlifts, where I'm really trying to relax my pelvic floor on the easy part of the movement and contracting my pelvic floor, slight contraction, bringing it back up on the harder part of the movement. So just making sure that I'm able to focus more on core and pelvic floor connection and less on load, which I will mention in my primary squat day when I go into my accessory movements and the approach on that as well. My second set, I did go up to 20 kilos. Does not seem like it would be a big change, but it was actually surprisingly a big change. It did feel pretty hard. I only did 8 reps on each side. And even though it was hard, it was still probably about an RP6. And again, it was RP6 based on a different gauge than it would be doing a powerlifting movement. It's RP6 based on, can I maintain a good core and pelvic floor connection? But once you see me do this other side, you will see that this side was a little bit harder. I have been noticing a little bit of asymmetries. It's been a little bit harder to stabilize on when I have the load in the right hand, but nothing different than not being pregnant. It's just everyone has asymmetry, so that's why it's really important to train those unilateral movements to make sure that you are focusing on that. And when you're doing bilateral movements, when you're doing movements on both legs, like a regular squat or a deadlift on both legs, you don't necessarily notice those asymmetries. And then lastly, just my fourth and final exercise of the day, I did 12 reps at 110 pounds, 12 reps at 100 pounds, 10 reps at 110 pounds, and then 12 reps at 100 pounds again for seated cable rows. And I'm surprised that my back muscles are still hanging on. Baby bump update at 31 weeks pregnant. I'm now 2 months out from my due date, which means I'm starting my 8th month of pregnancy, which is so crazy. Time is going by so fast. I'm up 19.4 pounds to 165 pounds on the dot from my starting body weight average. It feels really cool to be growing every single week. Right now, she's growing like a half a pound a week. So every single week is gonna be like dramatic increases, which is really exciting. And I just got back from the gym, so this little guy will not stop meowing. It is 5:54. His food goes off at 6 o'clock, so he has to wait 6 more minutes to eat, but I'm not gonna feed you until 6. Your food's gonna go off then. That's a good girl though. She doesn't mind, she's just happy to see mama. And moving on to my primary squat day. So this is me warming up for my top set. Throughout my entire pregnancy, I've had both a primary and a secondary squat day. This is the same exact training approach that I have not being pregnant, but obviously the intensity is a lot lower. So this is me doing my top set. So this was just 3 reps at 225 pounds, RPE 6. And obviously, because I'm not using a belt, I'm not bracing, and my breathing is a lot different. This is a pregnancy focused RP6. Like the technique is different during pregnancy as I would be bracing and trying to do an actual top set not being pregnant. And then these are my back offs. This is just 3 sets of 4 at 195 pounds below an RP5. So far with squats, all I've had to do is just widen my stance out a little bit and point my toes out a little bit just to accommodate the growing belly size. I'd say I made this change at about 22 weeks pregnant, and as I mentioned, I'm now 31 weeks pregnant. So I think the squat stance will hold up into 40 weeks pregnant. Maybe at 36 weeks pregnant, I'll have to shift it out a little bit more, but for now it's feeling really nice and comfortable. I'm just getting over a sickness, so sorry if I'm like coughing and getting out of breath. These are some deficit split squats with ipsilateral load to get that core engagement. So you have the offsets. It's very light. It's not something that I'm trying to get a huge hypertrophy benefit out of. It's just something that I'm trying to get a stability aspect out of it, and getting my core and my lower body stability to function in conjunction with one another. It's also really important in general just to train stability exercises, because as you get into your 3rd trimester, your body starts to produce more relaxin, and if you're not training for stability, you're more at risk for getting injured. So it's important to make sure that the stability holds throughout your entire pregnancy. And then right here, I was previously doing, even last week at 30 weeks pregnant, I was doing barbell RDLs, but I, again, wanted to focus more on the stability and less on the hypertrophy and getting, to lift more load. So I think for me, in this stage of my pregnancy, it's more important to be focusing on stability and core and less on the actual load that I'm lifting. I'm still maintaining my strength with the squats and the deadlifts, but for my actual accessories, it feels really good just to be stable and moving everything functionally and not be trying to get like a super intense workout. These are very light weights. I would be doing so much more than this if I wasn't pregnant. And then after this, I just had a seated abduction machine exercise and then leg extensions, but I did not film that. But that is everything for my primary squat day. All right, so that is all in terms of my primary squat day and my primary deadlift day. If you're curious of what I'm doing every single day in the gym, in my last week's video, I talked about my 5-day training split that I'm doing in the 3rd trimester. It was the same in the 2nd trimester, it was the same in the 1st trimester, but obviously I'm making small changes as my belly gets bigger. And this is actually my training split that I did before I got pregnant too, even when I was in a powerlifting prep. So it's been a very seamless transition, just adapting as I go and making sure everything feels safe and comfortable as always is the #1 goal. I'm just honestly amazed at how great this pregnancy has felt, and I think that is largely in part due to staying healthy in my, not only my training, but my nutrition, my movement, just making sure I'm stretching a lot, and I'm just really, really grateful for how this pregnancy has been going. But anyways, thank you so much for watching today's YouTube video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next video at 33 weeks pregnant.